Wow! Boom, bang, boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. Explosions. An explosive pay-per-view, literally an explosive pay-per-view from AEW. AEW Revolution delivered some surprise debuts, a bloody, mean, violent main event, and so much more. Your comments are on screen if you're with us live. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Spread the love. Let's enjoy wrestling. It's WrestleZone. What's up, everybody? I'm Kev Kelm. That is Dominic D'Angelo. We are live with you on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on demand, in your ears, in the podcast feed. If you're with us for the first time, get your comments on screen. All right? If you want to troll, get the hell out of here. You got to have a real comment, got to really try, got to really enjoy the show here. Plenty to cover here after a big pay-per-view, a traditionally priced pay-per-view at $50. To spend your money. Did it deliver? Did you get your literal bang for your buck from an exploding barbed wire death match? Did the surprise Hall of Fame worthy debuts live up to the infinite speculation that was running rampant for the past few days? All these things and more. Your comments on screen. We ask for your ratings as well, because ratings are very, very important to wrestling fans, even though they're incredibly subjective on the 1 to 10 scale. Dominic D'Angelo, you cover AEW. You are lead the person for that at WrestleZone, covering Dynamite. You covered tonight's pay-per-view. What are your thoughts coming off the pay-per-view so far?
Overall, it was a good show. I liked it. A lot of that main event was very, very good. The ending, though, the explosions and stuff, I'm seeing a lot of the reactions in the comment section. Mm-hmm. And something must have not went right for those explosions. I thought, like, how it was all set up with Eddie Kingston coming out and protecting, like, making a face turn, protecting Mox, I thought was awesome. But that explosion or lack thereof at the end did not finish it off well in a lot of ways. But ultimately, I mean, I thought it was a good show, and I thought the main event was very, very good. Kev, what are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people obviously join us after pay-per-view shows live, and I see a lot of attention from people, a lot of different opinions here. Shaden Tucker texting and saying, I love the whole show, so yes, I got my bang for the buck. Christian is underrated, but the final scene sucked.
Kev,
they didn't like that. They didn't like that post exploding barbed wire death match that had
Paul in the chat, Paul Tugas says, are you kidding? That show sucked.
Marcus Choice saying botch explosion, fire your pyrotechnicians AEW. There are a lot of explosions in the main event. Let's get right into that. Let's start with the main event, and we'll jump into the surprises and other things on this show. This is the exploding barbed wire death match. It was brutal. It was violent. A barbed wire wrapped around all three sides of the ring. And, one side of the ropes, a little bit of a respite from, flesh cutting steel. And if you hit the barbed wire, explosions go off. Well, they had those coils of explosions. You could at one point see a stagehand taking them off the ring after a bump into the barbed wire. But they had a lot of these. Normally these exploding barbed wire deathmatch, if you did your research, you went back and you checked these out with Onita and Funk, they were very few of them. There were just a handful of them, and they were wild, and they had the crowd on the inch of their seats, the final edge of their seats. A lot of these, and a lot of very, very violent stuff, specifically that paradigm shift DDT off the apron to the outside of the ring, a barbed wire board with explosions, and they were like within 2 or 3 feet of it. Specifically, Kenny Omega, when he kind of came off the DDT, the explosion was like right there, like maybe inches from his feet. It was very, very violent. Kenny Omega gets out of it with the help of the Good Brothers who run into the ring. The countdown is going on. The explosions are going to go off. The match ends before the countdown happens, but apparently for some reason they can't stop the explosions after the match ends. The fail safe. They said there was a fail safe. They can't. I was like, really? All right. So that was a really moment.
Yeah.
And they're beating him down, and the Good Brothers want to get him out of the ring, but Kenny Omega's too insane. He can't do it. And then Eddie Kingston has to come out and save him, and there's a countdown on the screen. I saw someone scream on Twitter, the final explosion is the pipe bomb of CM Punk. You didn't get that. And Eddie Kingston comes out to save the day to try and get a handcuffed John Moxley prone on the ring. Kenny Omega devastated him with a one-wing angel through a chair to win the match. And he sits on top of him. And you think you get this big explosion. And you get an explosion, but it just looks like Kane's intro.
Even less than that, unfortunately.
Adam texting in there saying that was embarrassing. Just bad. And the thing is, I think that final explosion didn't do any favors to what the match actually was, because I really enjoyed the match.
I did too.
Really, really enjoyed the match. But they sold 30 minutes. The ring's going to blow up.
Listen,
the ring didn't blow up.
What they should have done. I mean, I get that they had to have Eddie come and protect Mox, but what they should have done. I mean, obviously, like I have to think that explosion had to be. They thought that explosion was going to be bigger, and it wasn't. Because like you can't, if you're gonna, from a visual perspective, you're sitting there, hard camera, far away, looking at that. If you're testing it out and you see that, you'd be like, that does not look good. Mm-hmm. So like if they rehearsed all that and like ran a test run of that, which I'm sure they did, it had to look bigger. So I think there had to be something wrong with that. But yeah, it's like everything was set up great. Like great for it, and even if Mox ended and they ended the match just when he got pinned, they didn't need the explosion at the end. They could have had Eddie come out and get off the guys and protect Mox at the end. But
Timmy Galligan saying you see more pyro. You see that pyro? Holy first grade 4th of July party.
There's
Ouch.
Let me just say, there's some zingers in the comments section.
I'm going to try and get to some of these because I know people are joining us for the first time. Want to get their shiz in. Nishad Jawah, who he won. Let me show you what he won. Here. I'll show you what I just mailed out to Nishad. I mailed out to him recently some action figures. We're gonna give away some action figures tonight. Anyone want to win a John Cena action figure? Share the link. If you share the link, you could win one of these. All you have to do is share it. You don't even have to share it on your own personal Facebook page. You can share it in a group or something like that. If you want to do it on Twitter, want to do it on Twitch. We're now on Twitch, by the way. If you guys haven't done it, if you're a Twitch person, go ahead and check out our Twitch channel. Share the link and tag at WrestleZone.com. For you guys on the podcast side of things, you're still winning the contest, and we can win that John Cena action figure. If you share the link at WrestleZone.com, tag us in the tweet if you're going to do that for the podcast side of things. More comments coming in saying WWE has more pyro in their entrances. No, there was plenty of pyro in this, and it was well done. When they hit the ropes and the barbed wire, that cut them up. These guys beat the snot out of each other. The match itself felt really cool.
Yes.
Team saying that I was a tad underwhelmed. I mean, I guess maybe did it live up to the hype?
I think the match itself did. Just the ending didn't. It was. I really liked what they did in the ring, and Mox was all about taking those bumps. So was Kenny. I thought even if you look at the details of what they were wearing, even the contrast of Kenny wearing the white shirt and the blood showing up on there, and then just Mox taking a shot of whiskey before the match, I thought was cool. And just really set the table for a good match. And something
badasses drink before fights,
right? Right? You gotta get that liquid courage in you before you're sending yourself into some fucking barbed wire here. So I liked the match. And I like the story told at the end too with Eddie again. But it's just that explosion.
But that ending, dude. I don't know if I could see fans. That ending, I looked at Twitter. Didn't seem like anyone liked that ending. It's weird how you tie your ending to something that is so faulty.
Yeah.
I also didn't get the impression that the ring was really going to go stuff was going to fly in the air.
I played Fire Pro Wrestling and done those exploding barbed wire death matches, and I've seen that ring explode on Fire Pro Wrestling. It looked a lot more bigger than
video game.
Yeah.
That's a video game.
It's a video game, but if you're gonna do that for a live audience and stuff, the ring is actually gonna explode. It's gotta explode more than that.
Definitely continue to chime in with your thoughts here. I want to see what more fans are saying here. Daniel Miller, why can't AEW fans stop shitting on AEW and only bash non-entertainment company? Oh, so Daniel Miller, you just want them to shit on another company. Daniel, you should only crap on it if it's a bad performance. And here's the thing here about this. This was a great performance, but part of the performance is this effect, this 3D effect. You go to see a 3D movie and the 3D isn't good, then it takes away the effect of the movie and you tie yourself to the effect. The effect at the end of the show was the ring's going to blow up. And we just had pyro at the top of them. It felt underwhelming. And it did a disservice to what Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley did in the ring, breaking their bodies and kicking each other's asses and bleeding buckets and doing all these different things for this ending where I think they were trying to get Eddie Kingston, who was not booked on this show, and ran out to the ring as a former foe and friend of Jon Moxley to cover him. And what did he cover him from? So they tried to tell a big story, but the effect just didn't deliver because those explosions didn't look as dramatic as they could. But then what are you asking of people? Can you mean, like, Kenny Omega nearly got his foot blown off. They can DDT. So, I mean, what are we asking of people? And also, Jon Moxley got hit with a barbed wire bat that blew up in his face.
That blew up in his face.
Yet that isn't good. Like here's Gary Pearson saying, that explosion made Gillberg's entrance look good. And here's the thing. Gary is texting in. Gary's not wrong. But look how one bad, faulty thing at the end after this match made everything in the match look like it just didn't happen. Like that's how high the expectations are for something like this.
Yeah, it is. But like you look at it too, and it's like, what do they do in gymnastics? Like it's about the ending. It's about the landing. And the landing is what you see at the end of this match.
Absolutely. And Tom Sasso. Read this comment here, Dom. Read this one from Tom Sasso.
I love the pay-per-view as a whole, and this ending ruined the night for me. That's some wow. I like it. It's definitely I don't want to go as far as it ruined the night for me or ruin the match, but it's a big overhang. It's like the Charlie Brown rain cloud kind of thing to this match now, unfortunately. Like people are gonna just automatically, that's what's gonna happen, is people are automatically already, and we see it's connecting that ending to the match itself. When the match was great, but that ending, I understand. I get it though. I understand why fans are feeling that way and getting to that point. It makes total sense. Because it's a hard visual to shake. We saw it, and it was, I definitely understand.
And it's weird because the match, it's like, as I mentioned, the match was great, but this post-match thing just kind of took away from it, and it was just the effect. If you guys are with us for the first time, continue to get your comments on screen. We'll be here for quite a bit. And if you haven't done it already, make sure you set your reminders to our Facebook viewers. Make sure you set your reminders so you know exactly when we go live, so you can join the party like you did before, or download the podcast, subscribe in all the different apps, Apple, Spotify, so much more. We do shows for Raw, AEW, NXT every single week, all the pay-per-views and exclusive interviews. We interviewed Matt Hardy this week. You did an interview with a very strapping, large Al Snow.
That's right.
Quite a big man now.
He was in the crowd, man, huh?
Yeah, he looked yoked when he was in the crowd, too.
Yeah, man.
Michael York, not yoked, said, post-match Moxley. Moxley said, Omega can't build an exploding ring for shit. I didn't catch that.
Well, maybe that was at the was there a conference or something, or I don't know. Are they doing a post-conference press scrum?
No, I don't know if they're doing a post-conference right now. Maybe we're covering that. If they are doing any audio, hopefully we get some of that there. Yeah. Eric Cook gives the match the whole pay-per-view an 8.5. Give us your rating, 1 to 10. Dom and I will do it before the end of tonight's podcast here. We'll get into that. But we have a lot of people join us after pay-per-view, so I love getting your comments here on screen here. People just noting how much of a big botch that was at the end. Let's talk about the other big news of the night. This is worth talking about. The big debut. It was been anticipated since Wednesday night. The big go home featured the debut of Paul White, aka The Big Show, saying that he would introduce a new star to AEW that was quote unquote Hall of Fame worthy. Now he had a little bit of botcheroony in that because he said that name would be a part of the ladder match. Then Tony Khan, AEW president, would go on record as saying that isn't exactly the case, and there would be two big names debuting at the pay-per-view. So the name that we got in a late segment in the show, not one end of the show, you and I did a preview, and I said if this was Brock Lesnar, if this was a CM Punk, one of those guys that we haven't seen in the ring in a year or years, that people have been super anticipating for, that you would see them at the end of the night. And the name that came out just appeared in the Royal Rumble for WWE. He was one of the names that fans were talking about. And it is quite the coup for AEW to sign him, Christian Cage. Christian performed recently at the WWE Royal Rumble, returning to the ring after nearly 6 years out of action, suffering some concussions years past, had been a part of the WWE presentation on Fox. with Fox Backstage show on FS1, but was not apparently under contract with WWE. Just agreed to the Royal Rumble match. And they cleared him 2 days before that Royal Rumble. Quite the emotional return. I know our very own Robert D. Felice, who's quite the Edge head, wanted to see Edge and Christian back together at least once on the road to WrestleMania. That is not going to happen. And Christian came out after a countdown before, I believe, the second to last match and signed in the ring. And he was teased earlier in the night with Paul White backstage saying no one can outwork him. And this is a huge pickup for them. But, and there's no shot at Christian, this doesn't live up to some of those expectations and the wild speculation that people have been giving for the last few days.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Christian a lot. I thought he will in the long term, like as long as he's able to compete in a consistent manner and like just be safe, but also like he is a personality that good and that stuff. But it definitely doesn't live up to like the expectations that were built. Tony Khan went on Busted Open
Radio. And we'll
hear
our words when he comes out there and has these incredible matches.
Sure, yeah.
I'm just talking about the chatter. The chatter online. The chatter online was through the roof.
For the long term, he'll be good. Like it's a good grab for obviously a good grab for them. But like from this moment, it's a little. I don't think it brought up to the expectations that got built up. Throughout the course of the week and so on. And obviously, that's always going to happen with wrestling fans when you tease a surprise like that. People are going to go, whoa. And like we did that too. I did that particularly too on our preview show, of making predictions and stuff. But like that table was set for that. And, I think Christian's a great get and a very good get. But to that point, I don't think it really lived up to those expectations, like you said, Kev.
Let's see what the fans say. As I say, we're the most interactive podcast out there. We want to go with what you guys think here. With different takes here. This is super subjective with different people talking about this here. DJ's with us all the time. Christian can kiss the WWE Hall of Fame goodbye. No. Guys, that idea that if you go to another company that you can't do anything with WWE again is so convoluted and very passe. Obviously, if you're working for another company, it's very, very hard for you to come into them and do something that's ceremonial like the Hall of Fame. But to say that you'll never be in it because of that is ridiculous. Mick Foley went to TNA. He was still able to be involved. Hell, Ric Flair was under contract with TNA. He was able to be involved in the Hall of Fame. So.
And it'll be a while maybe before he gets inducted, obviously, but he'll get inducted.
I mean, if you thought this was going to happen next year, it's not going to happen next year. It's going to be a while. So don't worry about that.
There's
so many guys comments here. This William T. Wages, guys, glad to see Christian AEW, but come on, they are doing just like everybody else. Been bitching about WWE. Now these guys are going to AEW. Give the young guys a shot. Christian north of 40, but maybe this is a guy who has healed properly and is ready to go in a very specific circumstance and has something to prove that he couldn't do in WWE, which is a big lure for people with AEW. I have no doubts saying that Christian signed for very good money. So he turned down WWE to sign with AEW, turned down a reunion with Edge, like hypothetically, right, to do this. And maybe did this with the encouragement of other people. So, Michael saying, I was hoping for Angle over Cage, but here's the thing. No one's going to say, Christian doesn't deserve this. Former world champion, can do some real big things, great timing, has a wealth of experience with some of the biggest names in the business. This guy is the Rub from Austin, The Rock, all the great names, was there through the Attitude Era, and has been out of the ring for a long time. So maybe he has healed up properly. So, and Kyle Dufflin saying Christian is a big get for AEW, huge signing for him. Carl Obama saying he enjoyed it. So what are the matches you think that pop up here with Christian signing with AEW right out of the table?
Ooh, like right off the bat?
Yeah.
I mean, you could put him right there with Kenny. You can get him there with Cody because Cody's not in a match. Like
we're being told, shut the fuck up and talk about the explosions. We did. We already did.
We did.
Okay, it's all right. If you're watching the live stream, just back it up.
Yeah,
talk
right?
about the explosions. We'll talk more about explosions. We'll talk more about explosions. We're trying to cover the stories as much as we can.
But yeah, I think Cody's an obvious one, I think. Hangman would be a good one to get in the mix with him and Christian, I feel. Yeah, I think there you can set the table. You can get him mixing up with Team Taz. I think that'd be pretty cool. Ricky Starks, you got. Yeah, a lot of different opportunities. Those are the top ones that come off of my head for the most part starting.
I think it'll be big, and we'll see what happens here with this. This will be quite the future for him, but I do see people saying that they didn't like this. They were expecting something else. Dan Greathouse saying Cody versus Christian. He'd like to see that match here. Jericho versus Christian. That is a match they did in 2004.
MJF versus Christian. That'd be cool.
Yeah, some people saying Christian is old AF. I don't think he's that old. I don't.
You look at it. I mean, Did he
look great at the
he looked good. Yeah,
looked fantastic,
and he looked good there. And
if he's old, you know who's also old? Jon Moxley, Cody Rhodes. Like anyone north of 35, you know what I mean? Like how many other people you want to throw on your old list? I love how wrestling fans love. They love being ageist. They love being ageist about spots. Whoever a certain spot shouldn't be a certain age. But when the Hall of Fame comes up, they've always been with that guy. They were always with. It seems like you guys have a very sliding scale about your ageism. You cash that card in. It's the ism that is okay in wrestling right now is ageism. In one way or another, saying you don't want someone who's too young, you don't want someone who's too old. Everyone's got to be in a specific spot.
Listen, age is not isn't an issue with Christian. It's more so like people were concerned about his like safety, health, and all that, and all that. But like it's just like, is Edge old? Like any of these established stars that you're going to bring back that have some notoriety, you're going to call old because you've seen them several times, constantly. Whatever, and whether it's TNA, whether it's WWE, they've been there, they've done that. So, I mean, but to that point, you sign somebody, it's a name, and Christian is a name. So it's like not as big as the name that maybe a lot of people were thinking, but he's, like we said earlier, Kev, I think in the long term, he's going to be good for AEW, So.
Absolutely. Continue to hit the like button and share. Let us know what you guys think. Let's get into the card as well. What do you want to touch on first? What match do you think you need to sound off on?
Kev, I tweeted this out. I think that Sting, Darby Allin street fight against Starks and Cage was the best cinematic match wrestling has had yet. Above the Boneyard match.
I wouldn't put it above the Boneyard.
But I am. I'm putting it above the Boneyard, and I'm putting it above.
Of course you are.
Why?
Hang on. when you get your check from Tony.
No, honestly. I feel like the way the cinematography was set up, I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought was something that the Boneyard match didn't have was the establishment, the elevation of younger stars in the match. Because you had AJ Styles and you had Undertaker in it. In this match, you had guys like Darby Allin, you had Hook, you had Powerhouse Hobbs, you had Ricky Starks, even Brian Cage you could throw in that mix. And then you had a legend in the mix with Sting. And I thought the shots of Sting, and everything, how they played him off was beautifully done. And just a unique encompassing setup, I think, of not only the warehouse, but how they build into it with the drive down, like them driving down and Darby doing his Marty McFly onto Sting's truck. And then you also had Starks and Cage arriving in the green sports car. I thought it was just a very neat, edgy setup and something that, I thought really delivered and stood out in comparison to the other cinematic matches. I'm going to sign off again on it. I think it's the best cinematic match that wrestling has had.
I'm going to say it's in league with the Boneyard match, but I won't say it's better because the Boneyard match, I think, was there's been other cinematic matches, but one at that scale, that way, with those names, that was special. That was WrestleMania under some very challenging circumstances, and that was the best match at WrestleMania. I don't think this was better than that match because that match played off personality. This played off of as many stunts as we can cram into this thing. They did, and I'm not saying that's bad. This felt like, at times, it felt like a kung fu movie. And the way it was shot, the way it moved, the tracking, I thought it was very, very cool. I thought it was one of the best matches on the show. I thought it was very, very unique. You're right. It did lay up a bunch of younger stars. I don't think that's something you can hold against Styles and Undertaker. They had a story to tell and then they had different challenging circumstances. It's subjective. It's just like that's the sliding scale stuff.
It is subjective, but yeah.
So I'll put it in league with it though, because it made Sting look fucking dangerous.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
and it made him look dangerous in his own environment, and it didn't show off any of his weaknesses. Using the goons around the ring and all those different people to be beaten up by Brian Cage made him look strong. Had Hook and Hobbs run out there. Loved it. The good guys won. The good guys won the big blow off match. Loved it. But does present a challenging conundrum though, because this isn't a sliding scale, because you judge things on a scale compared to what else is on the same show. How come a cinematic match filmed inside of an abandoned warehouse with a bunch of cinematic tricks, right, is better than most other things on the show with a 62-year-old man who you want to protect and not have him take bumps. So that was a little challenging, because there were some other things on this show that I want to talk about. I'm gonna be like, what are you doing? like there were a couple eyebrows raising things. This wasn't a bad show overall, but this was definitely this was a pay-per-view match. I don't think it's the best cinematic match of all time. They're doing these because we have to do something different. We can't just have everything in the ring with a limited audience. You have to find other ways around it. That's why there was an exploding barbed wire death match on the show. That's why the street fight was done this way. We found out today that this was pre-filmed.
Yeah.
I love the environment of it though. I was waiting for RoboCop to show up in this rundown warehouse and say, "Put your hands up, punk." I loved it. If you haven't seen it, seek this match out. Maybe they have some clips of it up on their YouTube. This was really cool. I enjoyed it.
I think it plays into Darby Allin's, his willingness to do stunts and stuff like that, like him going through that top floor and then through those several floors, and then getting vaulted into that pane glass, window pane that was errant.
And it fell on him too.
It was beautifully done. And then Brian Cage, and that's the thing too, is they actually had wrestling in this match. Brian Cage, that stalling suplex, walking him up the steps like that. That was.
And then you notice when he went up the steps and had Darby Allin in the stalling suplex. He walked up the steps, right? And then with his foot flipped the garbage can over so he could slam Darby Allin through it. And I was like, oh, look at the good brother. Because if he slammed on the concrete, that would be worse than slamming him on the garbage can.
That would not be good.
So he's like, I'm still going to wreck your body, but I'm still protecting you too, brother. You're the good brother one there. Sean texting in here saying, I couldn't really get into the street fight. All right, so he's in the outside of it here. Tyrese is texting in, Tyrese McDonald, saying, Sting looked good, pretty believable. Wish the commentary match was a little bit better. You did have Taz losing his mind on commentary during that match. I can understand that.
Hey, his son's there. You don't know what is happening.
That's my boy. That's my boy up there. Yeah. Gerald texting in saying, you can really compare the match with two established wrestlers with a tag with a legend and 5 up-and-comers.
Does he mean can't? Maybe he means can't.
I don't know. You're
that
exactly
makes more sense to his statement.
Other people not agreeing with you here about that.
I know. I get
Gary Pearson saying best cinematic ever. Cry face emoji. Cry face emoji. I'm dead.
Hey, that's fine. I like it, man.
Joseph was not a fan of the match. That was straight trash.
Whoa. You know what, Kev? I'm curious too how many people because right before that, obviously Christian got introduced, and maybe that I wonder how much of maybe people got a little bit deflated about. And again, no offense to Christian, but it's people had those high expectations. I wonder going into that match if they're just dang.
You know what didn't happen at the end of the show with the exploding barbed wire death match? No one's flesh got roasted, so apparently that's what people paid their pay-per-view money for. Here's a deep burn though from Esteban Swan Esquire. Watching on YouTube saying, breaking, Eddie Kingston is being transported to a local medical facility for 0-degree burns. Jeez, that's mean. All right. Ryan Tiller saying, does Sting do more cinematic matches to make it easier, or do we actually see him in the ring? Well, the thing is, you saw him in the ring a lot, but it was very limited exchanges, very physical things. We saw a lot of Sting in the ring physically, and also he did a lot in this match. I don't know if he did he take any hard bumps in the ring? He didn't take any. I don't think I saw him take.
The only thing he did, maybe that was oh wow, and this wasn't that bad. Obviously took the Stark Spear, but then he crashed pretty into the turnbuckle, the open turnbuckle. But that's kind of it. I don't think he really did a whole lot of bump taking that was really that bad.
Also, I heard many people speculate about this.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone put on the Sting stuff and work his Sting in this match with limited lighting?
I think that's definitely a possibility. And if they did it, they did a very good job at it because, like,
I mean, there was enough shots where you can clearly tell it's
like
Sting.
I would say maybe like it's like he did like a sunset flip out reverse out of a Starks powerbomb or something like that. That probably wasn't Sting, but I thought they made it look like Sting. And,
that was a cool move.
I wasn't able to tell. Yeah, it was.
I'm
cool.
not saying it, but I'm saying I heard people say it. I didn't get that impression, and I didn't get that impression.
He could have, for all I know, maybe he did do them, but I don't know.
It's a cinematic match.
It's a cinematic match.
Cinematic match. You can hide it.
Yeah. I was gonna say something else about this too. Was shoot, I can't remember, but it was a point I wanted to make.
Gio with a lot of hot takes saying everything was underwhelming in this pay-per-view. That Mox Omega match was going to be a classic, and now is a classic for all the wrong reasons. Ouch.
It's a fair point to make. Unfortunately.
Ouch. Mark Deal texting in. I think AEW signing too many WWE guys and not giving young talent spot. I think the cinematic match, the street fight match, is a great example of a combination of a big name we're bringing in with our own guys. I think that's fair. Also, guys, if a legend beats a younger guy, that isn't burying the younger guy immediately. So I think we need to get that past ourselves as well.
I also think, like this fat like idea of like, oh, they're signing too many WWE guys. They're signing too many guys that you might there, and I don't even think this is the case, but they're signing guys that you recognize that are stars already. And like
James Arnold, he loved it. He says the street fight was so different and captivating, very satisfying.
I thought it very much was.
I enjoyed it as well.
And Kev, to your point too, I really liked it because it had that kung fu vibe, and I thought that was super cool to put Sting in that element.
And like it was different because like the Boneyard match was cool because it was like it reminded me of They Live, where it's like a long, drawn out, big fight scene.
And what was cool about the Boneyard match, like I really like, was the little detail of like just Taker talking trash as he's like,
and that was like what they did in They Live with Piper and I'm sorry if I forget the actor he's in there with, but I mean that was just like a great one-on-one fight scene. This was like two teams. It was more frenetic. It protected the mythos of Sting. They did a bunch of gimmickry, like they did in the other one too. I think it's in the same league. I don't think it's better because that one was different because it's one of the first ones that WWE really went full tilt with.
I just, from my personal perspective, when I saw the Boneyard match, I was like, oh man, that was really, really good. And I could watch it again. Like that's how I felt. And then when I watched,
this isn't good.
Then when I watched this match, I finished it and I was like, man, I could really watch that one again. So that's what makes me really think that. I think
T Wayne putting the heat on him here with this comment from YouTube. He says, thank you, T Wayne. If you haven't done it, T, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. He goes, this show will be memed forever. They won't be able to escape the backlash that follows. Good luck then, Toe. Laughing my ass off. Deal with the backlash. Yes. We'll wait for the memes to drop. As
the memes will drop. It's gonna. I mean, like, this is gonna.
And it's gonna be the explosion match. It's gonna be the explosion match because you built it up so much. Justin, agreeing with you, that match was pretty decent. Right up there with Taker and AJ. We make the Boneyard comparisons. Herman, German suplex to car. Saying the Boneyard match was better. AEW did put over young talent and up and coming talent like Sting, though. I get what you're doing there. Sting's an up and comer at 60.
Up and comer, yeah.
Spry. Yeah, spry young name there. Neo Red texting Scorpion death drop on the chair or a trash can cover outside the ring would have been cool. Oh, come on, Neo Red. You're just nitpicking here. Why didn't they do like honestly booking?
If you want to get the Scorpion death drop, you still want to maintain that getting over, just have him land it clean like you did on Starks and get that 1, 2, 3. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was an awesome finish. Awesome, simple finish.
Definitely here. Other people not agreeing with T Wayne saying they will be just fine. They will be just fine. I agree. They'll be just fine. I don't think this is.
I think so.
Enough of them. Clisper though saying he loved AEW's spin on the cinematic match. I like that people complain about WWE doing too many cuts. I think with a cinematic match, it's cool when you do a longer cut because you're letting the ambiance or the aesthetic of where they are settle in. They did a lot of cuts in this because they were going to like multiple places at once with many different people. Which I was okay with. It reminded me of like Avengers, like when they have the big final fight scenes.
Yeah,
they're going off with all the different people. And this is pretty cool. I mean, and they did the Stadium Stampede, which is a completely like pre-film match. So they have a pretty good ranking.
And you know what this sets up for? I do think Sting. We will see Sting active live in the ring. Like, I think this is just a little taste of what we'll get from Sting. Like, this is a little teaser, and because I think Sting showed that he's capable at least having some semblance of a match in the ring. You know, with a tag partner like Darby. You know, I think they can get that across having that. But I think this is just like having this in a cinematic match at first is just like a little appetizer, I think.
Judge Dredd from the comic book texting in about the surprise of Christian Cage, saying they shouldn't have announced the signing before the pay-per-view. They shouldn't have announced the signing. Seeing Christian as a surprise would have been cool. But they hyped it up too much, and people were expecting Batista, Punk, or Lesnar. Well,
I think that's
I would say the issue is you let people up to their own devices. They're going to run to the hills with their fantasy booking. You have people today saying it would be Shane McMahon. I heard that one this morning.
What?
Yep.
He was just on Raw.
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
but he's on Nitro. You're supposed to be here, and you're over there. And the name on the contract says McMahon, but it doesn't say. Yeah.
I think Mr. Dredd makes a fair point, though. I think it's a fair point, nonetheless.
Let's get into the rest of the card. Face of the Revolution ladder match, and this one with multiple competitors in the ring. Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Pentagon. Who else am I thinking of here?
Well, do you want the name?
Yeah, let's talk about the big debuting name coming over from Impact Wrestling. No longer under contract with Impact Wrestling. Ethan Page.
Heart is back in his chest. That's
yes, all ego. Ethan Page survived a fight with himself on the Hard to Kill pay-per-view where he ripped his own heart out of his chest. He is now all elite. I think it's a great addition. We'll just briefly talk about him before we get into the match. This one makes sense. This one was speculated. This guy has earned this money. He has earned this money. He is one of the hardest working guys in independent wrestling in terms of making his own content, doing it online, creating that connection with fans digitally well before the pandemic forced a lot of people to catch up in that regard. All right. He was doing that. He is very much a DIY guy, and you want people like that on a team because he'll do it for everybody then. If he does it that hard for himself, he'll do it for everybody. And it seems like we could get some really good feuds with him. I would put him in line with MJF as a talker in terms of a guy who can just talk up heat and could do some really special things.
I agree. Yeah, I think Ethan Page is a very charismatic individual. Just seeing what he's capable of doing, he does a very good job at it. I do think to the point of building expectations. Now they didn't, to the AEW's defense too. They did not necessarily like super duper hype who this person was going to be in the match. I think fans' expectations really like went over the top with this one. Mm-hmm. But I will say it's like Ethan Page is somebody that was just on Impact, and again, no offense to Impact or anything like that, but it doesn't really catch casual fans or anybody's eyes. So seeing somebody like this come out is kind of like, who is this guy exactly? It can be like that. Like, we know who Ethan Page is and what he's able to do and stuff like that. But you'd want to almost a name that's like a little bit more recognizable. Like I kind of mentioned, like Chris Hero, or somebody even like, that's been out of the WWE limelight for a while, maybe like a Joe Henning. Just name a few other people. Like Ethan Page will get there. I firmly believe he will get there and he'll be a star in AEW. But it's just like for him to come out like that, I think I can see how fans kind of reacted to like, oh, dang it, but he'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Sound off on this Revolution ladder match where they had a big giant brass ring hanging above the, because Vince McMahon says if you reach for the brass ring and you get the brass ring, you get the push, because they're playing on you being so smart wrestling fan, knowing about the brass ring. So if you get the ring, then you get the push.
Yes. Kev, I bet you love that.
That annoyed me so much. I was like, I get what you're going for, but it was kind of like a bit petty to say. Not probably not a bit, but a whole bunch of it. And then there were a lot of people enjoying that it looked like the Sonic the Hedgehog rings.
I'm getting that.
Different people about
Seen that.
But they beat the snot out of each other. Lance Archer got stuck inside of a ladder, and then someone splashed him on it. Scorpio Sky went through a cup. I think he went through at least one ladder.
It was one ladder that was bad.
Yeah, there was a lot of wild, mean stuff. And as Cody Rhodes got hurt, then he got to come back into the match and then continue. It wasn't like, oh, he's going to come back in and win, I think was kind of the tease there. But they didn't go in that direction. Scorpio Sky is the winner. Quite the ladder match. I wouldn't call it the best ladder match I've ever seen. But goddamn, these guys put on the working boots, and this was fun.
They sure did. And that frog splash that Sky hit, too, was pretty damn cool. It was good. It was a good match. It was hectic with all those people in it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it told its story and it delivered, I feel, ultimately. Sky is, we'll see more of him, obviously, but we want to see more of him from a personality perspective and stuff like that. He hasn't really gotten to showcase himself. He's kind of teasing a heel turn as he was cocky on commentary on Wednesday. So curious how they're going to go with that. Plus,
and he gets that title shot this Wednesday, correct?
I believe so. Yes. So him and Darby Allin, it could be from even just a match standpoint that sets itself up very nicely for what should be a good match. It'll be interesting to see how the dynamic gets played between those two if they continue the feud after Wednesday and stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how Sky does in a singles position, but from a persona perspective too, especially.
Mm-hmm. Continue to sound off on AEW Revolution. We're running down the card here. Briefly want to touch on this. I thought the match was fine. Thought it was strong for what it was, but definitely I didn't feel too invested in Ryo Mizunami, the Eliminator Tournament winner, taking on the AEW Women's World Champion, Akira Shida. Two solid Japanese stars who've been built up through sports. They've won a championship and they've won a tournament. Now they fight each other in sports presentation, but you didn't hear the crowd in this one. And I'm not saying that this was a bad match because they beat the snot out of each other. Akira Shida wins, but this cues a collective of mean, bad girls to hit the ring. And Nyla Rose, who lost in the tournament, Britt Baker, who was featured in the buy-in earlier in the night, with the very outrageous Maki Ito at her side, who is a fan favorite, but is definitely not wrestling for the fans. And they have formed this new group to beat up upon Akira Shida. Cue Thunder Rosa to hit the ring and save the day. What do you think of this scenario? I thought the match was fine. But I definitely felt myself feeling like, all right, now I can go I don't want to call it a bathroom match. I think that's a very, very bad thing to call it a wrestling match. But I felt like, all right, once the match came up, I was like, I have a minute or two to recompose myself and I can leave the room.
Yeah. Third match on the card, I believe it was. And it was very frustrating for me to start off. I'll be honest, just because a lot of showboating that was just it did not click. Again, I was like, okay, I want to give Ryo the benefit of the doubt, from Wednesday, because she did this on Wednesday too. I was like, okay, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, see how it goes on this match. She started doing that, and I'm like, holy crap. Again, this is a lot of stuff we're seeing. It seems like she's just taking up a lot of airtime, and I don't know if it's just, I'm sure she's not being selfish, but it's coming across that way. And it's just after that happened, and they started actually hitting each other and going back and forth, it got me a little more engaged into it. And I thought later on, it ended up being a decent match. But yeah, it's again, Kev, we talked about this on the preview show. We're not familiar with Ryo, from an American standpoint. A lot of the, and they barely introduced us from an AEW perspective for it.
I mean, look how many more people are talking about Maki Ito, and she's just out there goofing around.
She was goofing around, and she was an unexpected surprise on the buy-in. So, she tagged up with Britt Baker in the buy-in, and then we see her later on.
Also sang. She sang an entire song.
And she's a good singer. She's a good singer. She's got some vocals.
So they definitely have a faction here. Vicky Guerrero will be their mouthpiece, which would be pretty interesting here. Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, Maki Ito together as one group. I think this will be more of a six-woman tag. than like a title program. If they're a collective of bad gals to get the belt off of Kiyoshi Shida, I could see that being more interesting than even a 6-man.
Yeah, no, I that's kind of interesting because I didn't like, for some reason I just thought it was just a bunch of bad guys. I didn't necessarily put them up as a faction, but that's interesting to kind of think about, especially with Vicky Guerrero as their mouthpiece.
Let's talk about some of the aesthetics of the show. This was the first AEW show to have more than 1,000 fans at it. Yes, they've been having fans at Daly's Place. They've been there for the past 7 months. Tony Khan going on record during his press rounds this week about how proud he was of no reported transmissions of COVID-19 infections tied to their show, so good on them. We got a lot more shots of the fans tonight. We have the fans at Dynamite. There were around 1,000 fans at Dynamite this past week, but I was definitely remarking when I was watching the show with friends on Zoom about how, wow, like they're cutting to the crowd a whole lot. They don't do that on TV. You just kind of hear them and they're there. And then they have like the trainee wrestlers around the ring, right? Under this circumstance, you saw a lot of fans in the crowd. They cut to them, and there was around a reported 1,300 fans in attendance for the show, spread out in their own individual pods with social distance. So kudos to AEW for pulling that off. Good for wrestling, not just anybody, but just good for live events in general, that we're beginning the transition, and hopefully by the time we get to April, 2 nights of WrestleMania, we'll have 20 to 30,000 people in a football stadium and being safe at the same time.
Yeah, it's a good thing to see. Like, we're getting back. Sun's been out more here in Pittsburgh, and the day's getting brighter, staying brighter longer, and I think there's some optimism in the air, and with the way things are going. So it's like, getting crowds back in there is good.
This is a little out of hand here. Now, some people are going off on this AEW Revolution pay-per-view. They didn't like the exploding barbed wire death match. They thought some of the stuff like this in the middle of the show underwhelming. Vincent saying December to Dismember 2006, widely believed to be one of the most underwhelming pay-per-views of all time in wrestling history, was better than this. I don't agree with that.
That's a bit of a stretch. Kev, are you seeing too here in the chat that Tony Khan just did a pro scrum for Revolution? He said it was Omega's fault and he was a bad builder, and so that's what they're kind of hanging their hat on, is that he was a bad builder, and that's why.
What?
Bad.
What?
He built it.
So
was weak.
So the explosion at the end was weak, but all the other ones during the show, which were designed to be small, those were designed to be small, controlled as much as an explosion can be, for the cool effect of the slams on the ropes and all that stuff, right? But the one at the end was supposed to be the biggest explosion and looked like all the other explosions during the show, right?
It looked
the coolest one they did was like the baseball bat. He hit him and then boom, and it was like right by his face. I was like,
and I thought the ones on the ropes too, the ones that happened.
And the thing is, those look cool. Those look cool.
Mm-hmm. They did look cool.
Those are cool here. Other people with different I love this one. Michael saying Bob the Builder is all elite. Bob the Builder is all elite. Let's get into some other matches on this show. Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page, the big money match. Many people think this is Matt Hardy's best showing in AEW so far. I'm going to agree with them. There was a lot of fun, crafty things to work around the physical limitations that Matt Hardy's had from his injuries. A lot of people were remarking about how Matt Hardy moves in the ring. I heard someone say that he looks saddle sore. He's had a lot of hip injuries. I think he works a completely different style because of it right now and does smart things. And I thought Hangman Page made him look dangerous and mean, and Private Party getting involved in the match was crafty, but Hangman Page picks up the win when he falls out of the ring. The Dark Order, which wants him to join the group, they come, they save the day, they catch him, put him back in the ring for the Buckshot Lariat. Love the ending. It was really, really cool. It paid off the whole storyline literally into one move. They did that in the Exploding Barbed Wire Death match when when Moxley got to kick out of the move you can't kick out of, right? And he put his foot on the rope and exploded.
Yeah,
that's
clever.
The best way to kick out of a move is an explosion. But they did this in this match too. I know we're zipping around here. I like this. I thought Matt Hardy looked like a good, just a good shit-eating heel, and he ate some shit tonight. And Hangman Page looks strong. Maybe he joins the Dark Order officially on Wednesday.
I think so. And, I think that, I said this too on Twitter. I think this was Matt Hardy's best match in AEW. And very well told story. Like, they focused on Hangman's hand throughout a good course of the match, and I thought that was a neat aspect to kind of tell. And him trying to get off, like knowing that he's got to battle through this hand injury and hit maybe his buckshot lariat. But yeah, it tied into like what popped the crowd when Hangman, I think, was in a battle royal when Dark Order saved him from being eliminated. Like they caught him and threw him back, and then they caught him this time and threw him back set him up for the buckshot. So it was really neat finish. Yeah, I really liked this match. I thought both guys told their story well, got the right person over, and it leaves some intrigue for what's to come, maybe with Hangman and the Dark Order. So great. I liked the match. I thought it was very, very good. And Matt's best match. He knows how to tell a story, guys, which is cool.
And we knew we weren't going to get the same Matt Hardy we got in 2005. This guy's been through a lot of different injuries, an injury that we thought about a year and a half ago would just end his career, right? But here he is, wrestling a smart match, working a smart style. An old guy. Don't you like your old guys?
I love old guys. I love them.
He loves them. He gets all hot around the collar for his old guys. That he worked a smart style, and the right guy won. Hangman Page deserves a win. It makes sense. If it went the other way, they could have kept this thing going along in the tooth. But I don't even think they need to tell more of a story. You could just think the story is really Hangman going to join the Dark Order.
Yeah, that's what you need to. Yeah, I think that's it. Pretty much. Like, hey, what's going to happen with him in Dark Order?
Absolutely. I'm on board. A lot of people joining us here for the first time. A lot of people flying through the news. Some people saying that John Moxley talking to the crowd after the show. We haven't seen what that was.
Oh, maybe that must be where he said.
Other people that there has already been remarks of how the show-ending explosion didn't deliver. We already mentioned that Tony Khan has talked about that in a post-show media scrum. We haven't watched it because you and I are on. We'll obviously be covering that the days ahead. And if you guys want to join us in the days ahead, once again, follow the channels. I know a lot of people watch our shows for the first time after pay-per-view. This is the time to get on board. We're a month away from WrestleMania, right? We're almost a month away from WrestleMania. We're going to have a ton of stuff the week of WrestleMania. We're going to do watch-alongs. We're going to do a bunch of different things. We're going to have giveaways and all that cool stuff. I mentioned the action figures. We have our WrestleMania trivia and activity theme book you could win as well. So we'll be giving those away. So keep an eye on the channel ahead. Let's jump into this. The Tag Team Battle Royale. This one's got put together in the last week or so. Loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Did you?
I did. I did not expect much out of this. But this ate up a lot of time. I think this was like 20 to 30 minutes of the first hour of the show. Okay. Really enjoyed this. Featured a bunch of different teams. Bear Country, a new team I was rooting for, they had some shine. They got to eliminate some people. But what did you think of the ending? And what did you think of the winners?
I thought the winners were appropriate. Like, obviously, like you want Pac and Phoenix or Penta. You want them all in the mix of some sort of title stuff, and this does it for him. And nice
little mini match at the end with Jungle.
Little
Boy
mini
Jeff
match,
Hardy,
yeah, and it was
against Ray Phoenix, because both team members had to be eliminated, so that allowed them to kind of feature two individual guys from teams at the end. So that rule made sense. I like that. And
a big highlight too for John Silver, like showing his strength and like his ability to scrap up with those guys too. I thought it showcased the right people for the most part. And heck, one of my personal favorites is the Butcher, and I popped pretty big when he eliminated both the members of Bear Country. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Hopefully, those guys get to have a feud now. Come on, Big Andy from Every Time I Die versus Bear Country. That'd be cool. All
right.
Strong match, right way to go here. Ray Phoenix is everything. I'm emotionally connected with him for the first time. Ray Phoenix deserved the win here more than Jungle Boy. They've been pushing him, and he's featured in all these different mixtures of main events, almost like Jey Uso has been on SmackDown for WWE, where they're pushing him, only to pull it away from him right before. Like, hey, let's use this great dynamic guy in the ring who can do all these different things and have a great match with everybody, but let's not give him a big win. And now they give him this big win, and hopefully this goes to the next level and they do something with this tag team. Speaking of tag teams, let's talk about the big tag team title match of the night. Like this, I thought this was the right way to go. I believe this was the show opener. I know we're jumping around.
This was the opener. Yep.
This was the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF of the Inner Circle. They went all over the place. Super kick, teased Meltzer driver, flying off the top rope, only to miss the driver. Baseball bats to the back. Baseball bats were totally utilized tonight. Sting broke a baseball bat on someone's head tonight. This was all over the place. Young Bucks get the big win, teasing even more dissension in the ranks of the inner circle. Ever since MJF, there's been dissension in the ranks. No Sammy Guevara to come out and interfere, the guy who left the faction here, but loved this match. Sound off, guys. Let us know what you think of this big tag team match. What did you think, Dom?
It was okay. Like, it really didn't do too much for me either way. It just felt like a Young Bucks match. Jericho and MJF did a good job, like, playing their roles and stuff. And like, just a lot of, I mean, with the Young Bucks, you get all the kicks and everything like that. And it just really felt like that was played a lot in it. And I don't know. It just did not click for me. Maybe it was just because it was the opener. If maybe they put it on later in the card, I might have been a little bit more engaged into it, but it was just like trying to invest myself into it already. But knowing how a Young Bucks match breaks down in a lot of ways, I don't know. It just did not click for me. And I like Nick and I like the Young Bucks, but it just, for some reason, it just was not sticking. And I kind of almost even forgot about the story itself about their dad and that it didn't translate over to me from Wednesday to Sunday here.
Well, it's because you hate your father, Dom. And
that's right.
Screw you, Dad. I want
to
beat up a dad to win. so yeah. If you have a bad relationship with your father, I don't think you enjoy that.
It just didn't click for me. Yeah.
You're a mama's boy. That's why. John Lopez saying he loved the match. Said MJF will call to be the leader on Wednesday and have Jericho removed, allowing Les Sex Gods to reform. There'll be some drama there. Kick him out of the group.
Yeah,
see what happens there. Yeah. So a lot of people with different takes here. This one's nuts. Awesome saying wrestling medias led by their guru Dave Meltzer have a meeting now in order to justify how disappointing this pay-per-view was. Wow, that's pretty severe.
Wow, what, Kev? What time's that meeting?
We're late.
Are we? Oh shit. Okay. Well,
are they going to let us into the
I'll
Zoom?
shoot him a text. I'll shoot Dave a text right now.
Listen, Dave.
We'll be there.
We can't. We know you're getting paid by Tony, but we're not, pal. Yes. It already took 20 seconds for someone to say Dave Meltzer's on the AEW payroll.
Sean is very negative. I got to say that. I'm seeing him all over the place.
Sean has his tough takes.
He's a real Debbie Downer this week tonight.
People getting their troll dozer and they got the gas and they got to burn it, dude.
Yeah.
So what other matches do we have to cover here? We have some other ones to look at here. What do you want to talk about?
Let's see. Which ones didn't we cover exactly? See, we had 8 matches. 8 matches. Mm-hmm. So, which one did we cover there, Kev?
Yeah, I think we almost
did. We get them all? No, we didn't get them all, did we?
We didn't cover. Well, they didn't have a TNT title match.
Nope. That's what I was trying to think. Is like, nope, definitely didn't have that.
Eliminations in that match as well. I'm double checking the card here. Make sure we got everything.
I know.
Here we go. Here's the match that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
Miro and Kip Sabian versus Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy here, guys. I'm sorry about not being prepped, but I want to make sure that the stream stays strong. So I don't have the card up in another window. Miro and Kip Sabian. This one's been built up to for a long time. Miro is introduced into AEW. Oddly, not featured as a single star, but featured in this tag team with Kip Sabian. And it's all building up to the wedding of Kip Sabian and his main squeeze, Penelope. And Penelope's at ringside. She gets knocked off the apron in the final sequences of this match, which started with Miro attacking Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy backstage, smashing him through a glass window. I thought that was a cool way to start a match, not just do the normal introductions. So I was like, all right, trying something here. And Miro looked like a monster in this match. I think that was the idea here. We have not seen him have a lot of singles matches. We did worry that he had some type of leg injury months ago. And so this is the first time we've seen him in the ring in a while. And he looked like a monster. And he gets the win here, forcing Chuck Taylor to tap out with a big back crusher. But you did see Penelope Ford get knocked off the rope. I think something we played into there. This was better than I expected. I was down on this match going in because I think the storyline is played out. It's too goofy. It underwhelms the monsterism that you can create around Miro. And he looked like a monster. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. I think you're right. I think it went above expectations for this. I liked how they did start it off. Like Chuck's bloody, and You know, I kind of expected like almost him to be like a concede to Miro at the beginning, and he was like, "No, let's ring the bell." And then so he gets his ass whipped for a while. Orange Cassidy stumbles out, falls down, kips back up, and then fights it and gets involved in the match. And they put him over pretty good in this too. And but yeah, it's I still want to see these gears get turning, whether it's away from, you know, Miro getting, and it looks like it's going that way. Like Miro is has a wedge potentially with Kip and Penelope coming up, and then let's get a move on here with Miro. Let's get something different and get the video games, get that whole, and it's going to be tough to shake because that's all we're associating with AEW at this moment in time. But get him heated up a little bit more than what he's been getting. So.
Fansport 5 saying it was the best match on the card. He loved it. It was his favorite.
Okay.
Other people want to see Miro versus Archer. They want to see those monsters fight each other.
Yeah.
And then we have April texting in. Thank you so much, April. She says, I'm looking forward to this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite with the TNT Championship between Scorpio Sky and Darby. I mean, if you have a pay-per-view that makes you look forward to the weekly television, that isn't particularly bad.
So what you're doing, they're selling the product.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They're when you come out of a WWE show like Elimination Chamber and you're pumped for the next night of Monday Night Raw, they had that same vibe at their pay-per-view a few weeks ago. So I mission achieved in that regard here. Jay Feliciano, a man who knows a thing or two about the pro wrestling world, a man who has misted the hair of Roman Reigns, says thoughts on the rumor of Nick Aldis going to AEW and being the fourth horseman of the NWA with the NWA world title. I literally said this yesterday.
You did, Kev.
I literally said this yesterday. That is not a rumor. That was speculation from me. But
yeah,
I was just hearing today that there is some rumblings of that the national treasure could be making his way to TNT.
I think that would be a great move. I think, Kev, I mean, even how you set it up on the preview show, that was really well done and it made perfect sense. And like, because who was it? I think it was, who was it? James, I think, mentioned it in the chat that who's the Ric Flair of the group? And you brought up Aldis. And I think
it would be him. So now it is time for the all-encompassing, definitive, you don't need to go anywhere else. This is the Rotten Tomatoes of wrestling. Let me tell you, all right? It's time to give it the all-encompassing. Never, once the gavel is down, the rating has been laid down, no one else needs to share their opinion. WrestleZone has stated it. It is done.
It's over.
I'm washing my hands of this show as I will now give my rating. As I've sanitized my hands here for the surgical precision that I will deliver the all-important, never to be challenged rating of this pay-per-view, which cost $50. So it's judged on a harder scale, Dom. They're asking
it's got to be you pay you. They separated you from a good chunk of cash here.
Okay, it's a lot of cheeseburgers you took out of my pocket there, Tony Khan. So I ask you, Dominic, see if you're a loyalist or Jacksonville loyalist. What is your 1 to 10 rating for AEW Revolution pay-per-view 2021?
If I'm factoring in, I really like the death match, and I liked the cinematic match. I said it's the best cinematic match that's ever happened.
But
what is
it?
The ending explosion has its issues. And hangs a a lantern on it, and not a good lantern. So if I'm factoring all that in, I'm giving it a 7.1.
And you sound so defeated saying that.
No, I'm just settled with it.
Tom, I'm not trying to grill you, but it definitely seems like you would have liked at 7 p.m. Eastern when this show started. Come into this stream and say 10.5. There's no more stars.
Yeah, of course.
Give me all the stars. So I would say that you had higher expectations for this show.
I did.
Still entertained, but you definitely felt like maybe those expectations weren't met.
Yes, I would say so. You know,
I'm giving you a fair and measured challenge of your takes tonight, so that you know how I am. Conflict is good. Okay, you gotta rub flint together to make a fire, baby. All right, so we don't agree. If we just agreed on everything, we'd be dorks.
I know, right?
There's tons of different wrestling shows where everyone's just puckering up
Oh
against
wow,
each
this
other.
is great, or this was bad.
Yeah,
or
kissing
whatever.
each other's cheek to say something was great. It's fine.
Yeah.
Slicey Dicey gives it a 5.9. Dan Greathouse says a 5. And Kyle says
Kyle's kind of in my
because
boat.
of the ending. He gave it a 7.5 because of the
Yeah.
ending.
Kyle's in my boat too.
Dad Life loves Dad. He's tucking his t-shirt
4.
into his jeans. Gives a 4. Not a great rating here.
Mm-hmm.
A man who's with the show all the time. A man whose voice that we care.
Whoa.
A man who I spend more time texting with on the internet doing these podcasts than members of my own family, Mr. James Espanto Fernando. He says 3.5 out of 10. 3.5 out of 10. He throws a taco in there. Emoji for fun. Ouch.
Man.
DJ. DJ texted.
Wow.
Well, I know he loves himself. Some AEW. He gives it a 3.3 rating. No 7.5, dog, which is the go-to rating of John Clark, who does our shows all the time. Lee, who's there, he gives it a flat
Hey,
7.
that's fine. Yeah.
So I don't mind reading these ratings here. My rating,
Yeah, Kev, what's yours?
it's a flat 7 out of 10.
Okay,
It's a 7 out of 10. Strong show, great stuff. Mixed bag. Some things hit, some things didn't. Some things I had lower expectations for. I wasn't looking forward to Kip and Miro and their featured tag team match, but you made them look like monsters. You got Miro on the right track. All right, that's better. And I told you how down I was in this story. Like, they recorrected course. WWE doesn't get credit when they recorrect course. AEW did here. I like that. The signing of Christian Cage, people's expectations were astronomical here. People were talking. Once I knew they were going to do the signing in the middle of the show, I knew you weren't getting a Brock. I knew you weren't getting a CM Punk. But guess what? Don't look at what Christian Cage, 2 times in his career, this man says, I'm not just going to take the dice. I'm going to take the dice politically and roll them hard. All right. And roll them real hard. And I need to get a flush here. I need to get a good hand. He did this with TNA 15 years ago when he went there, and he was one of the first big names to jump there. He is doing it again in this way. Some other big names got there before he did. But I think that's a risky move, and I do think in the future maybe people will look at this differently. But people wanted Punk, they wanted Brock, they were paying for the big LeBron James taking his talents to South Beach moment, and they got something different with a veteran guy who is trusted and can have great matches. But people wanted the superstar signing, they wanted the megastar, and Christian has never been seen as a career main eventer, but he's always been seen as the guy who can steal the show. And if that's what you really want in AEW, you're going to get it. So in that regard, the wrestling on the show was great. Not a lot of bad wrestling on it. Some wrestling that just didn't have a lot of storyline build. I thought you had the whole tournament and you went in that direction. It was just an angle with the women. I thought that was kind of underwhelming. And the explosion at the end of the night did take the piss out of these guys bleeding buckets and taking to the face. And I felt so bad for them.
Yeah. And Eddie Kingston, I thought it was such a cool face turn moment.
Yeah. And then you have Eddie Kingston trying to go out there and do really character work. I'm going to throw my body on someone to save them from an explosion. And it had a muddled effect. And it wasn't exactly what we were expecting here. With people saying, "What?" I'm trying to read this comment here. Can't roll with this crew. Expectations too low. Well, you can roll with this all the time. You don't have to agree with this. If you guys don't agree with me, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You don't have to agree with what I say. There's a lot of things I like that people watch the show are like, how can you say that? The internet has decided, and you are not prophesizing what internet say. So I thought this was a really good show. I do think that maybe if you paid $50 for it, this would feel like a little less than $50 in that regard. But if I went to the show live, I would have a really good time.
Yeah, I thought it was overall a pretty decent show. It
set up a lot of different things in the future.
Yeah.
And you got the payoff of Darby and Sting getting their win. And you're going to do some I wonder where you're going to see Jon Moxley go after this. Are they going to do another Jon Moxley match and different things like that? So there's a lot they can do here.
Here's the thing. If the takeaway to say, like, maybe this was deflating, obviously the ending, the very ending, and with the explosion, and then the build of expectation that got for this debut, this Hall of Fame worthy debut.
Mhm.
I think it did take the wind out of the sails a little bit. I love Christian. I think he's going to do great in AEW and everything. But like, I think they really did build it up and built that expectation. The buzz happened all this week. We saw it all across, wrestling social media. So it was big. Speculation was big. And unfortunately, like it wasn't up to that level, I feel. So, I mean, those things weighed down.
I do think it's something where they let the fans be their megaphone and they got a little bit too loud about it.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing is now Christian has something to come into and saying, "Oh, were you expecting someone?"
Oh,
else?
yeah. So maybe
and if you want to go in that direction, that could be interesting as well. Continue to sign off with your comments if you're watching on demand. We will be in those comments as well with your on-demand comments. We'll be here live tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. We have new breaking news flash videos I do all the time about smaller stories we can't cover until we have another one. So definitely we're going to get some news coming out of this pay-per-view, injuries, different things, storylines going forward. Obviously, we'll have some of that media scrum stuff for you as well. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I did tell you someone tonight will win a John Cena action figure that they can give to a young wrestling fan or put up on the old collection wall if you want to be a real heel. You can do that.
Especially a John Cena action figure.
I keep all my wrestling figures in the box, and you can only stare at them. They're there for presentations only. You can do that. So how you do that, you share the link to our show. For you guys on the podcast side of things, share that link on Twitter and just tag us at WrestleZone.com. You can follow Dominic on the Twitter machine. Where do they go, Dom?
You go at Dominic D'Angelo. Yeah, it's my name. There you go.
Yeah. And of course, you do episodes of our fantasy booking show because there's a lot of people angry that they didn't do fantasy. What someone said tonight, what did they say? I did a comment earlier. They were like, they should have done this specific move. If they did a code red on the cement, that would have been great. If you like fantasy booking, we have the show for you.
That's right.
It comes out every Wednesday. We put everything in one podcast feed. There's hours and hours of stuff for you to pick from. But every Thursday, we put out a show called WCW Rewritten. We have 3 episodes of it out so far that you can binge on, in which we rewrite WCW from their pivotal moment of Starrcade 1997 onward. You and your slapdick brother, Marcus, are diving into that.
So, I'm the slapdick. He's the degenerate, but yeah.
You're the slapdick. He's the degenerate.
I'm the slapdick.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Slapdick and degenerate. What is a bad morning radio show? You guys can check them out. They also do our 2 Dynamite Dude show, which is exclusively AEW. That's all they talk
all
about.
AEW stuff, yeah.
But obviously, WrestleMania is not too far away. I think we're going to get some big WrestleMania hype tomorrow. We have a new WWE champion in Bobby Lashley, so that'll be something interesting to follow. What is going on now that Christian's out of the mix with WWE? Where is Edge going to go? Where are they going to do with him? Is Daniel Bryan going to win the belt off Roman Reigns before WrestleMania? That's certainly interesting. Great SmackDown cage match this past week. So wrestling overall is pretty goddamn good right now, guys. I think that's something we got to focus on. And guess what? Live crowds are coming back soon. Sometime this summer, we're going to be able to go back to live wrestling. That's pretty sweet. We hope you guys are out there staying safe. If you have enjoyed the show, go ahead and give it a like, share, subscribe. Maybe there's another wrestling fan who agrees more with me and Dom. Let them know about it too. Maybe you don't agree with me and you think these WrestleZone jerks need to shut up.
Trash the hell out of me on Twitter. Go on.
Yeah, trash me. Let me get that heat.
Give me that heat. Bring it.
Bring on the heat, brother.
Yep.
So definitely give us a follow on all those different things here. Continue to give us your comments about the AEW Revolution. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, even if the explosion at the end of the night is less of an explosion and more of just a puff of smoke. What should you do, Dom?
You cover your friend, protect him, and then
cover me, protect me.
Lean in his or her ear, and then just say, "Enjoy wrestling."
Enjoy. Oh, that's romantic.